Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Keys to AWS Optimization, where today Adam is going to teach me how to build a FinOps agent. This is going to be something a bit fun. We're going to be vibe coding today, so there might be some errors. We're going to be exploring, and we'll be doing our best to share as we go. But hopefully, this will inspire you to build your own FinOps agent or whatever agent you would like. And of course, if you do build something, you've got to let me know at costoptimization@amazon.com. Throughout today's episode, we want to hear your suggestions, your ideas, your comments, your questions. So make sure you are commenting as we go. Or if you're watching us on demand, then drop a little comment underneath any questions we will make sure to answer later on. But before we get into it, Adam, have you had a frugal week or a splurgy week?
Most of my weeks are generally frugal, but this last week's been splurgy because was my son's birthday. So we did some birthday activities, also comes along with birthday gifts and the party and such. So kind of unavoidably splurgy, but it was a lot of fun.
Very nice. So is there any kind of party involved or just kind of chilled activities?
Yeah, we went to Orlando to do some activities, which kind of a couple things over there, including touring like a chocolate factory place where they like make chocolate from like the raw beans to bar. That
Oh
was
my
their little slogan,
goodness.
beans to bar. So that was fun. And we did like a
Yeah.
family party and stuff, of course, too, where people came over. It was great.
Wow, geez, that's very cool. I wish I'd done that on my birthday. Brilliant. All right, so welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Steph Gooch. I'm a senior SA advocate here to help you on your FinOps journey, and I host a whole other show on this channel called How to Build Like AWS, which streams on Monday, super early. It's 6:30 Pacific, but you're more on the UK side like me, then it's more about 2 o'clock that time. So make sure you stick around at the end to get all the links for that. Adam, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. Adam Richter, Senior Solutions Architect on the Optics team. So I work with some of our largest customers and help make sure that they are optimized in their AWS environment. And then I've also been deep in the AWS kind of AI FinOps space for the last couple of years.
I've just put like a Wonka tour, like the Charlie and Chocolate Factory. Exactly. That's very cool. So today we're going to be talking about agents. And if you're like me, this new phrase has been thrown around a lot and it takes a little bit of upskilling. It takes a bit of time to learn. So join us on this journey. Join me on this journey where we're going to figure out and learn a little bit about this stuff. But to kick us off, Adam, what is an agent exactly?
And I think it's a good place to start because I think agents get thrown around a lot, probably in a lot of contexts that aren't agents, especially with respect to marketing. Like everybody these days wants to say it like has AI built in or has agents. But the easiest way for me to distinguish what agents are is instead of just interacting with AI in like a question answer kind of fashion, you're giving it the
Mhm.
ability to go and do something, ideally autonomously. So,
Okay.
an example that I've heard somebody use is like you're giving AI kind of like hands and feet, like you're giving it ability to go like do things, which is kind of a silly way of thinking of it because it's not like we're building robots today, but we're giving it the ability to actually go, do stuff on our behalf.
Okay, so you're kind of empowering to do stuff, whereas previously we're being a bit more, we have to kind of do it. We're having constant conversations and things like that. So I mean, our audience today, and hopefully you guys are out there are FinOps practitioners, or if you're developers or any other things, but when we focus on FinOps practitioners, how should they be thinking about these agents?
So I guess first and foremost, they should be thinking about this if they're not already. So kind of big call out here for those of you that aren't already thinking about this stuff, start thinking about it. And here's why. So what these agents are going to do is think of them as like a colleague or somebody that's on your team. What types of things would do you do regularly, especially if it's
Mhm.
time consuming? Or what is something that you wish you had someone on your team to do if you were able to
Mhm.
hire the extra headcount or whatever? Or if someone could take over one of your tasks so that you could work on something higher value, what would it be? I think that's the way that FinOps practitioners should start to think about these things, because now that we're getting into a space where these things have become so mature and so powerful, like
Mhm.
it's well beyond just kind of the Q&A, like give me a quick answer. It's now, what can I offload? from my
Yeah.
workload to these things so that it can start helping accelerate my work or kind of broaden my impact.
Mhm, mhm.
And I've kind of got a second side to that too, but I imagine you have more questions or thoughts.
Yeah, well, just like you're saying, the way I think a lot of us, like I was saying, using it, we had it on a big internal meeting yesterday. It was like, now we can ask data questions. That's what the last kind of 2 years have been like. We've got all this information, especially us as FinOps practitioners. We can start just by saying like, hey, what's happening with this? Where's this spend coming from? And it's become a really good thing, but it's kind of gotten old quickly. You're like, okay, this is a little bit faster, but it hasn't dramatically changed how I work. But with these agents, hopefully what we can do is, like you said, start to offload some of the things that maybe you don't want to be doing, that you spend your time doing, aka those manual tasks. You guys know how much I hate the word manual. What would be great is, from what we're talking about throughout, if anyone has any ideas of what kind of things would be good to use agents, or where you're thinking about you have repetitive tasks, drop it in. Either if you're watching on demand, drop it in those comments below for me. Let us know what repetitive tasks you would love to automate, or in the chat, let us know what you are thinking. Things like, we've already got weekly manager reports, setting stuff up. But yes, so that's kind of what we're thinking about now. Continue where you were going, Adam.
Yeah, and that's a good call out, the weekly manager reports, because that might be one of the items that me and Steph work on today, which is kind of like a week over week analysis, but we'll see where that goes. But on the thoughts that I was saying, like, I think our FinOps role, or all of our roles, are going to continue to evolve with this space.
Mm-hmm.
The days of us just creating or reading dashboards or kind of reporting the news to internal stakeholders are rapidly shifting from us having to go do all that to AI being able to do that for us, and then for us being able to spend our time on actually driving the results, or creating the business value. I also think that our roles are going to be shifting to a much deeper focus on understanding actual workload optimization. Previously in FinOps, we would just want to understand the bill. Like, what are we getting charged? And of course, that's like, table stakes. That's where we should start.
Yeah.
But now that these things have gotten more complex and some of these resources can be quite expensive, our role is also going to be shifting to say, like, okay, is that team using those resources to their full advantage? An example I use of that is, if you've launched 10 really large GPU instances, are you using all 10 at 100%? Because if we find out that you're using all 10 at 10%, you could be running one instance at 100% instead of 10 instances at 10%. So these simple things become optimization opportunities for us, but either we have to be able to zoom in and understand that stuff, or we got to be able to work with internal teams so that they can start to understand that stuff. So definitely our role in some of the token stuff that we'll probably talk about later too, but understanding the usage of resources is starting to become a more important part of FinOps.
Yeah, the bigger picture in that. So how, with these agents, do people build them? Do we buy them? What are kind of the way, and what else are we going to do today?
Yeah, so the build versus buy has become like a really important thing that organizations are starting to think about, because with AI, we can create our own stuff super easy. And, as a former IT manager, we also thought about build versus buy for things much before like AI became popular, like even with websites and different stuff, right? Should we hire a web developer and just build it in-house, or should we outsource it to a company that's what they specialized in, whatever it may be? And I think the trade-offs here are still the same. Like, if you decide to build it yourself, that's great. It could be a like really inexpensive option, but then you're also on the hook for supporting it. You're also on the hook for security if there's any like compromise in it. Like, there's a lot of elements that go along with building stuff that's well beyond just getting the feature and the value. And then, which I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, I'm just saying you should think about those things as you're doing it. Versus buy, right, can be more expensive often, but then somebody else that specializes in that thing is already, building in the security mechanisms, building in the connections to various stuff, making it easier to use. So, it's a trade-off of cost for the most part, and oftentimes security and things along those lines. But in our case, right, we want to be nimble, we want to be fast, we want to get solutions without having to go spend a bunch of money. Like, so we're going to try to build them for ourselves.
Yeah.
But inside of your organization, maybe the economics on that are different.
Yeah, it's the same conversation. And I think I often try and do this. We liken this to conversations we've been having for the last few years, which is the same as buying a tool versus developing a tool for dashboarding,
Well,
for kind of automation and things like that.
yeah,
So
and even in the
it's
cloud, right? Like if you're going to launch a database, do you launch
yeah.
your own like instance and install the database software and you manage it yourself? Or do you use a managed service like RDS where it's all kind of largely already done for you? So it's the same
Mhm.
trade-off, really.
Yeah, it's just different words. So with that, if we're gonna kind of create them, how do we actually do that? What are different agentic design options that we have?
Mhm. So there's 4 or 5 popular designs. The one that we'll probably lean on is what's called like the supervisor design. In that case, you have a supervisor agent. It's kind of like the manager. It's the one that's overseeing the jobs. And then you'll have a series of specialist agents below it. So think of that manager that's giving out tasks to its employees to do things. And then when they're done, they return the output of their work to that supervisor and it kind of compiles everything and creates a final result, whatever that may be.
Mhm.
So that's a common way because that's very scalable, right? As you need to add additional specialized agents down below, you can like scale your team in a way. Another pretty popular one that people look to use is called sequential, or sometimes you'll hear it referred to as chained. So this
Okay.
is where agents are in a sequential pipeline. So one agent does something, and then the output of that agent becomes the input to another agent, and then they just go in
Okay.
order. That makes a lot
Mhm.
of sense if you have something that like needs to happen in order, right? Maybe there's some
Mhm.
like log analysis and then it needs to create a ticket. Like, well, you never want that ticket to be created before you did the log
Yeah.
analysis. So like there's a step by step, like a chained or sequential thing might
Mhm.
make sense there. There's other ones that are less commonly used, but it's like Blackboard is another one where they agents have like a shared memory space and
Okay.
they're basically monitoring that shared memory space to where if one agent does something and drops it there and another agent sees like, oh, well, that's something I can work on, I'll
Mhm.
grab that and start working on it. So it becomes a little more dynamic because you're kind of pooling things out of this shared space and you're not having to like pass them off between agents. Instead, the agents are monitoring that like Blackboard or that central
Mhm.
storage or memory space so that they can decide when to do and what to do.
Mhm.
And then the last one that I see, and there's probably other ones. I'm by no means like the SME of this stuff. I'm like Steph, where we live in the FinOps space, but consensus. So basically, you take something that needs to be accomplished, you give it to multiple agents. They all do their work independently, and then once
Mhm.
it's given back, you use another agent to be a judge to see which output looked the best.
Mhm.
That's most useful in environments where you have to really try to drive hallucinations down as low as
Okay.
possible. So think in, governance or strict, legal environments and different things. Like you may have to do that, which obviously is going to have more cost because you're taking that same work and giving it to 10 people instead of giving it to one person, using
Yeah.
people and person and for agents here
Mhm.
as a synonym. But that's kind of the difference. So you'd have to have a much larger team, which would be more expensive.
Yeah. Okay. And we got a couple of questions we'll run through. Um, how about instant scheduler in view of FinOps? So I've dropped a link to instant scheduler in there as well. Instant scheduler is a great tool for FinOps automation to turn instances on and off based on the time frame you set. So your working hours for your company is based on a tag. Have a little look at testnet. If you have any more questions about how this connects with agents, drop that through. But it is a great tool if you're not using it for especially development sandbox accounts, things where you definitely don't need things to be on. My encouragement is that if you ever have this, make sure the developers know that it happens, because sometimes people want to work on the weekends. I don't know why, but they love working on the weekends. So if they go in to try and try something, it will have that instance off. And also that people are aware that things will get shut down. So they make sure that they have the proper protocols when they're developing on their instances to save those things, basically.
Yeah, and it
What
just
else
works
do we
off of
have?
tags and schedules, so you can
Yeah,
it's very flexible.
what would be more cost effective, one expensive model or a few cheaper models? Would it be possible that a few cheaper models might be better? I guess, is this when it depends what in the context, right? If we're talking about different
Yeah,
agents doing
better
different things.
kind of subjective, right? Because
Yeah.
we have solutions like intelligent prompt routing in Bedrock that take a prompt and then it decides to send it to the more expensive or the cheaper model based on the complexity of the question. And those types of solutions can make it a great way to save. Or I heard a recent pattern where people will use a more expensive model, say Opus, to create like the design document of what you want to code, and then it'll give it to a less expensive model like Sonnet or Haiku to do the coding part. So it does kind of the heavy thinking of the plan, and then the code execution happens in another place.
That's clever. Is
So
that, are they doing that in Kiro, like when they're, or in
not in Kiro, that's a Claude. It's called like Opus Plan. So there's, but it's more or less, if you think about it, kind of like a prompt routing, and you could do these kinds of things manually too, right? Pick one model, brainstorm with it, have it create like kind of the coding plan for you, take that output, go give it to the other model and say, okay, let's code this.
All right. Okay, a couple of questions. Keep the questions coming in, folks. Does a potential AWS API throttling sometimes impact multiple agents assessing costs at the same time?
It could, right? Be aware of what your limits are set to, what services that you're using, because these things are capable of working really rapidly. But this isn't unique to like agents, right? These would be the same issues you would bump into designing any solution as it scales, even if it was a public facing or publicly consumed service. So yeah, be aware, and if need be, you can factor that in, right? You can put some delays or some backoffs, or maybe make it not multi-threaded, make it kind of do that sequential. Even if it doesn't need to be sequential, maybe make it do that instead. So it'll take a little longer to run, but less likely to hammer APIs and run into errors or limits, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, another question. This may be a dumb question. No dumb questions here. My job is to ask the dumb questions. But if you were to upload documents or connect to an MCP server for the model to recognize it, does it require tokens, and who pays for that?
So the price of almost all AI, unless you're self-hosting and running your own instances, is based on tokens. So tokens in, tokens out. If you are uploading documents or using a knowledge base, RAG, whatever, or connecting to an MCP, all of those things fall within the same concept, which is just you're adding more context. You're giving the AI more things to factor in to give you better answers. And more context is more tokens, because it's taking all of that information and adding it to the input side of the equation so that the AI can consider that when it does its inference and gives you an output. So yes, it would add to that, and you or whoever's creating the solution or hosting it, those tokens would accumulate. One thing to keep in mind here, real quick, Steph, is generally kind of often overlooked. Usually input tokens are about 4 times on average less expensive than output tokens. Obviously that will vary across whatever models you're using. So so it's generally a little less, a lot less expensive, because the model doesn't have to do much to receive your question, but it does have to do like a lot of hard thinking to provide you the output. So because of that reason, usually input tokens are less expensive. But over the course of a multi-turn conversation where you're going back and forth, all of the outputs from the previous parts of your conversation are being added to that input side. That's how it remembers what you've talked about. So over time, that input can grow pretty extensively. So just be aware of these things. And this is why I think earlier I talked about it's important for us to understand how solutions and this stuff is being used in our environments. Because if we've seen huge spikes in either side of input or output tokens, we want to know why. Like, how's this stuff being used? Because then you can decide if that's being used properly or if there's something that needs to be changed.
Brilliant. Okay, what's the next question? Okay. Are agents ready to take action on our behalf, ready to write permissions, or should we restrict them to read only? My take is read only, but your take is welcome. How do you set those guardrails?
And I know the picture, that's my fellow AI working group FinOps colleague, Jean. But so it's a great question. I could tell there's a lot of thought behind that. So they are ready to take actions on our behalf. They absolutely can. If you want to let them go wild, they can make changes, right? They could be purchasing commitments for us. They could be shutting down resources. They could be doing a lot of things. From my perspective, I prefer initially like read only or human in the loop. So read only would be just give me information that I can decide what to do. Human in the loop may be, okay, decide what decision or what action that you would want to take, but get my approval first before you actually go do it. And I think that's how we can kind of step into starting to trust these things before we just let them go wild, because they might do a lot of things that are great, but they also could do something unexpected or destructive, which we want to avoid at this until we've refined kind of the rules and the guardrails around them. So definitely important to start with, as much as possible, read only, and then kind of scale into it.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much for all of your questions and things like that. Do we want to go into a little bit of cost elements with, we just spoke about it a little bit, but Adam, have you dove into the things about credits when it comes to using Kiro? Do you know a lot about those?
Is that their pricing model where you buy different plans and include a certain amount of credits? Yeah, I know a little bit.
Yeah. Do you know what the thing I don't know, and if we can't find it today, folks, we'll make sure we figure it out and share it later, is how to convert tokens to credits. That's the only thing I don't really know. So if I'm asking a prompt, is it is there an amount of tokens that equal credits?
I don't know if there's like an actual equation, because different models have a different like credit conversion factor. So you'll see like Opus or one of the higher models or like 2.2, or some of the lesser expensive models have a different like multiplier, I guess you could call it. But I know with like within Kiro and many tools, you can see how many like credits you're consuming in the interface itself. It'll show you when you click your user icon, like how much you've used against it. And a lot of the pricing models of things in general will include, and this goes across the board for most AI, right? Like you'll get a certain number of kind of tokens or credits that are included in your monthly plan. And then if you go beyond that, they would either throttle you, or in like Kiro's case, you just pay extra per kind of 1,000 tokens or something along those lines.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you can buy the base plan that kind of fits where you think you'll, be, and then if need be, upgrade, or you'll just roll into extra tokens.
Okay, brilliant. All right, I am getting my account set up.
If you want, while you're doing that, I could.
Yeah.
Yes, I could touch on triggers while you're working on that if you want.
Yes, you explain triggers. I want to make sure we've got everything set up. Go for it.
Yep. So triggers are like, how do we actually make these agents, like how do we activate them? How do they decide to go do work? And there's a couple different ways, right? Human in the loop is manual. So we can just go tell this agent to start working on something for us. So say we have got the agent already built out. It already has all of its instructions. It knows what MCPs and different things to hook into. We can just go in and say, okay, start work. Another one is event driven, which is still somewhat like reactive, but it can be dynamic. So think like if an anomaly triggered, that could go reach out to trigger our agent to do a root cause analysis, which could trigger another agent then to go decide whether or not that resource needs to be shut down, or that account, password needs to be changed, or whatever it is that needs to happen. Similarly, if you hit like a budget alert, or an event bridge, task, whatever it may be. A third one is just scheduled. So think like weekly, monthly, if you've got like a report or something that you just want it to go do. And this is kind of the way we'll be thinking through the one that we work on today. But just thinking, if you want to do like some kind of weekly or monthly analysis, it could just be done on a schedule, which kicks off the agent to run and go do its work. A couple other like interesting ones are absence of an action trigger. And I never really thought about this one too much, but think about like an agent would do an action or start its work if something didn't happen. So it could like monitor if like log files haven't been updated in the last hour, then maybe it needs to go fix something, right? Figure out if the server has good health, reboot it, like, whatever it may be. But like it's called absence of an action trigger. And then the last one is agent to agent trigger. So like if one agent finishes something, it triggers the next agent. And that's getting into kind of the multi-agent flows that are going to become very popular, which also goes back to the earlier question that we had about like small model versus big model. Like we're going to see a trend where we're going to get more smaller specialized models that are less expensive, but much more sophisticated on the things that need to be done. And those can actually target and do stuff that's just more effective and ideally less costly. So that would probably be another factor.
And we had a quick question as well, which is Lambda can trigger an agent, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, like I use Lambda for a lot of stuff. It's like the serverless gateway to try and orchestrate things.
Okay, so shall we get into the demo or the vibe coding session? So we mentioned it a little bit, but we're going to try and make an agent which is going to do a monthly report of what we're spending money on. Super simple kind of concept. Obviously, you can go and ask Q this, you could ask Kiro this, but if this is something that you want it to be hypothetically maybe emailed to you or sent out in a report or set into a ticket or something, that could be like the aftermath, but you want it to be running constantly for this. So it's going to be a very simple version of it. If you like this episode and you want us to go even further, we're thinking of bringing it into like maybe Agent Core and doing some other stuff, drop me an email, costoptimization@amazon.com, or stay on the YouTube channel you're on. When the video is finished, drop a comment underneath saying, we want more. Okay, so let me share my screen. Oh, wait a second, that's not my demo screen. That's the Customer Acceleration Team LinkedIn. You've got to go there to make sure that you can see all the episodes and other things we got coming up. It's a little bit of a plug there, so go and search that. But because we are streaming, wanted to speed things up, we already made an EC2 instance and we already set up my connection to Kiro on it. So here is just a screenshot of what we did. So we installed Kiro, which I'll drop the link in the chat for that. Once it was successfully installed, we did this export path to make sure we could access it. Then we tried Kiro CLI and it was like, hang on a second, we need to log you in. And then it kicked us off with this kind of comment. So use this flow. It then gave us some different options, whether you have a pro license, whether you have a builder center login. If you haven't got one of those, make sure you go get one, get a free version. And I think another one, I can't remember. And then it gives you this link, and then you can go and use that to log into your account, whatever form that you have. That is how we got Kiro set up. Either you could do that locally on your own machine, but we are using an EC2 that we've set up in the account. We're going to be looking for cost optimization opportunities in specifically, and we're going to be using the Connect in the console to do this. Any questions about that? But I just wanted to give you a bit of a sense so that you could recreate this at home and see the setup before we got started. But like we said, we've actually got a systems manager thing, and there's my Kiro. I've already chosen the model. Yes, Kiro is set up there's a question about IDE. You can have Kiro as an IDE thing separately. Adam, why would someone do it in an EC2 versus in kind of local?
Yeah, so me and Steph chose to do it in an EC2 because we're going to be building this to ask like questions and to read stuff from Steph's AWS environment, which just makes it easier. You could absolutely build this though anywhere. Like you're also not restricted to using Kiro. Obviously, use the IDE and the kind of the AI of your choice. We like Kiro because it works really well. But that's why we built it here specifically. It's just to hook into her environment, so it'll be able to read things more easily without us having to get into permission stuff. If you build it outside of your own AWS environment, you'll just have to make sure it gets and has the right credentials to be able to read things. And that's the same rules anytime you use any MCP that's like hooking into things. It needs like a role with the right permissions to be able to read the data.
Exactly. And a question of this Linux. Yes, it is. This is the bog standard EC2 Linux, and are giving it a role. Very, very simple stuff.
Yep.
Okay, Adam, where do we start?
Okay. So we want to brainstorm with the AI initially, right? So, and you could put these things in your own words as I ramble if you want, Steph, but we want to tell it, we would like to build a FinOps multi-agent setup.
Hang on, say that again.
Yeah.
I clicked it off the screen. Okay.
You can say I or we, whatever. We would like to build a FinOps multi-agent tool to do a week-over-week analysis of our cost data. And then I'm going to keep adding stuff as we go here. So this is just for everybody listening, right? This is the brainstorming stage, right? Like we want to go kind of like see what AI thinks. Ideally, tell it we want to use native AWS services. So let's build locally using Python and strands. Or we only have to tell it that. So let's build locally. So back that out because I don't want to suggest solutions. Let's see if it comes up with it on its own.
Okay. So
let's build locally, and ideally have the option to eventually publish it to Agent Core. So for those of you that don't know what Agent Core is our like hosted Bedrock service where you can orchestrate like agents to be able to work on things in a production environment. But if we're just trying to build here in like a local sense, we want to build it in a way that at least will be ready for that kind of deployment if we get to kind of the production stage where we want it to be able to be used by other people. So let's see here. I want to build a FinOps multi-agent tool to do a week-over-week analysis of our cost data, ideally. Oh, so also add this stuff, and if you need be, I can drop this in the chat. But we want to use the billing and cost management MCP server.
Oh no, what did I do? Okay, cool.
But yeah, sometimes the right and left arrow thing gets a little hairy there.
Oh, it's gone to that weird thing. I want to use what did you say? Billing and cost management
MCP server.
server.
And the only other thing, and I dropped the link. We'll make sure that the link to that gets put in chat for people that need it as well. The only thing, if it will let you go back with your left arrows, let's say that AWS billing and cost management MCP server, because we've not mentioned AWS once in this, and context is important, right? It needs to know what kind of FinOps agent tool are we trying to build here. This is going to be.
Oh my goodness.
That's okay.
I think it's because I've zoomed in. It doesn't like it, and it's kind of freaked out a little bit. Oh, there we go.
That's fine. Yeah. So let's at least get started and see what it says. Yeah. And then I would trust things along the way just to speed stuff up, because, but for those of you that have never used AI in this way, oftentimes when it needs to use tools, like it needs to read something from the internet or it needs to talk to an MCP, it's going to ask you, and you got to hit T again to continue their stuff. It'll ask you, yes, do you want to run it just a single time? No, do you want to not run it? Or T, do you want to trust it to where each time it needs to do this kind of activity, it'll just do it automatically each time? So if it's things that you are comfortable with, like it going out to the internet to pull documentation and things like that, then hit T, right? It'll do that each time. If it's running a, say, root command or something on your computer, you may not want to trust that, right? You may, like, for those types of things, I'll look at the command, make sure I'm okay with it running in, and I'll just hit yes to let it run it that one time, because obviously you don't want it to go like do stuff maybe that you wouldn't trust.
And one thing to add in here, we have obviously mentioned to it the billing and cost management MCP, but we haven't set up anything else. So we haven't added any kind of there's powers. We haven't had any steering docs. We haven't done anything in this kind of setup. When you use things like Kiro IDE, you can add a lot more to make things best practice follow along for your companies. So things like there's new powers which you could add in for observability or cost or like other agents as well, which will give it a lot more information to base the decisions it's making on. We're really kind of going raw on this to see what it does. But I really encourage you to go and do some more research if you are starting to build with things like Kiro, to go and see what it can cover. On my other show, How to Build Like AWS, on the 9th of March, we're doing a whole show on best practices for Kiro development. So make sure you follow along on LinkedIn and you'll see me post about it to grab that YouTube link when it comes out, or just subscribe to this YouTube channel and you will see, or Twitch or whatever, and you will see the upcoming shows. So it's getting to work and it's time to build, which is
so it took the prompt that we gave it and got busy. Some of the things that I seen go across the screen were that it did figure out that it wanted to use strands. It actually did go out and find the AWS billing and cost management MCP server, even though we didn't give it the link, right? We gave you guys the link, but we didn't give it the link. It went out and found that and automatically put that configuration inside of its configuration. So far it's taking a lot of steps autonomously to know what we're trying to accomplish without us having to like feed those things. A couple of things in my mind when this gets to the kind of done with what it's doing is we're going to want to give this a little instruction, right? We just told it we wanted to do a week over week analysis, but we'll want to clarify. We might say, and just keep hitting trust along the way until that turns. We'll probably want to tell it that when you're doing your week over week analysis, just analyze the 2 most recent complete weeks, right? Because otherwise it'll try to do maybe a partial week of the week we're in versus last week and kind of do a estimate or something along those lines. Hold on, and then we'll also want to tell it maybe some of the things that we want to use to help filter and do some root cause analysis. So let's see what we did. Make sure UV is installed. So let's go over to your other tab and your CLI, and we can check if UV is installed. I don't remember if we installed that, but
before we do, I just got a question, which is, wait, what is strands?
Yep. So strands is kind of like think of it as a toolkit to help simplify when you're creating agents. So it's got a lot of like wrappers or almost like a programming language in a way to simplify a lot of the tasks that you would do to create agents. And it's an AWS tool.
Perfect.
I would.
Okay.
let's see, tell it while we're in the meantime.
Yeah.
Tell it we don't want to push this to ECR. We just want to run this locally in Python for now for testing, because it looks like it's wanting to do some kind of.
It's funny when we
local as,
do builds.
Say Python. Oh yeah, that's fine too. Okay.
When we do builds often with John, he is like the big prompt guy. Like if you go back and watch any episodes with John doing it, he writes like the biggest prompt because he dictates it, which is what I do. And you're just like, okay, very simple. Right. What do we want to check on the other window?
All right. So go to the CLI. So we're going to do UV space -- version. And let's see if we've got that.
No.
Okay. So we'll have to install that. So yeah. Well, once that's done, we'll, if you want to scroll back up and grab that command. So UV, and this would be needed on your local machine too. If you're ever communicating with a MCP server, you need UV on there to be able to have that communication. So that's an important step.
If we do it on this one, will it work?
Yeah, that's the one we would do it on. We don't. Okay. And then you'll need to do that. The top second one from the bottom. Grab that source home dot whatever to add it to the path. So all that's doing is adding UV to path so that we can, anytime we need to use UV, it doesn't have to specify like the full directory each time. But again, so that's stuff you would do on like your local machine, even if you were doing any kind of MCP. Okay, so it said it built it. So let's go to the bottom. It said it built it and it put it in this FinOps kind of multi-agent folder. So we see right there under bash, grab that first CD kind of / FinOps multi-agent. Let's see if we can go get into that folder. Not here. Nope. Oh. This is Kiro. So in Kiro, we're going to be talking to brainstorming all the things. But here's where we're going to run our commands kind of in a separate. So do a ls.
Yeah, it's fine. Cool.
Okay.
And
we'll actually go back to that other one, Steph, and do a pwd. Let's make sure we are indeed in that directory. I think we are. Yep. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
All right. So our next step was that UV requirement. So this is just installing the requirements to actually run this thing. So if there's any kind of Python, just do the pip. Try the pip install without the UV. I don't know that we need the UV part.
Just pip install
the -r requirements. Yeah. Okay. Here's what I do when I run on this kind of stuff. Copy and paste both of those two lines that you just tried to run.
Yes.
Yep. Both the 4. So the last one too, where you did the UV pip, because otherwise it's going to complain and say, "Oh, you didn't do the UV." Okay. So then let's copy that, go back to Kiro, and say, I tried to run it, and I got these errors. And this is the beauty of, for those of us that aren't developers, like, I don't know why that's not working. Like, AI helped me figure out like what's going on. So.
Oh, okay. We've got.
I don't think it got all of it, but that's okay.
That's okay. We've got a question as well. I totally forgot we were streaming. I just was like focusing on what we were doing. Why not IDE? How is CLI better?
So I wouldn't say that one's better. I use both. I actually generally prefer the IDE, but in this case, it just made it simple because we could already be in the environment that has the right permissions and everything, and it made the setup simpler. But I personally enjoy IDE because then you have like the actual folder structure on the left, and it's pulling that in as context automatically. So it can be very, very easy to do it that way. But neither way is right or wrong. And go ahead, you can run those commands that I told you, Steph, and we'll keep kind of working through with it. So.
All right, it's activated. I mean, actually, that's just the environment. I got too excited.
Yeah, that's set up the virtual environment. So.
Yeah, for those, that's just so it's given it all the requirements of what think packages need to be installed on this machine in this specific environment.
Go back, Steph, though. Did it tell us that we need to do some? Scroll back up on that in the Kiro window and see what it said.
I think it just downloaded it onto the machine.
Okay.
I will run the following commands in. Oh, it did it in the location, so it's sorted out for us.
Perfect. Even better. So it ran it for us. So we're good. So then we can. Looks like we can try running this. Who knows what this is even going to look like because you haven't given it any.
I think it's going to need Python 3.
Possibly, yeah. You could try it without and see what happens. So we didn't give this a lot of instruction yet of like even where to look. Try just Python more first, and let's see if we get the same error. If not, we'll give it the error and we'll give it some instructions.
I might have jumped ahead. No, okay, same thing.
So yeah, so copy that whole thing again, and let's go back and tell it. We're going to tell it 2 things. Okay. So say, hold on before you paste that. Say when I try it, when you run this, the permissions that you need are already locally available. Because it doesn't know where to get permissions. It might have even told us that we needed to set some stuff somewhere.
Okay.
And you'll be querying against my local, cost explorer using the MCP. Or using the billing and cost management MCP, however you want to word that.
Cool.
And then say, I tried to run the Python main and got this error. And while Steph's doing that, like, this is virtually like the exact process I went through. I created a multi-agent tool probably 2 weeks ago now. And I've spent a couple days worth of time just iterating on improving it to get to, for one, initially when the time it took to get it running wasn't that long, because you can kind of go back and forth with the AI and have it help you fix it. But once I got it running and started getting outputs, it was, okay, I like that output, but I'd rather see it in this format. And I could start iterating on tweaking things to make it what we looked forward to seeing. So, all right, so what does it say here? The fix, blah, blah, blah. So I guess just, go try to run it again and we'll see what happens. We'll keep going until it actually does something.
Jesus, it scared me. Okay, it installed something.
So let's see.
Oh.
Scroll down. So
okay, it got as far as making us a little picture.
So same. Well, that's just it was running the billing and cost management MCP. So similarly,
is that what that is?
Yep. So let's copy again all that stuff and go back to Kiro, or a big chunk of it at least.
Okay, let's go back. And this is the fun of these things. We got another error. I mean, fun. And there's also just flag a little bit of a conversation around, I have no idea what this thing is doing now. And so we've kept this in a safe environment. You should have it with limited permissions. You should be reviewing it. But you also need to make sure things like, even as simple as making sure that your git ignore has hiding access keys on a local version. Like that was something that I noticed it did the other day when I tried to push it to our private git. So I kind of make sure you have that, making sure that if you have something like the security agent to review stuff before you push it anywhere, just you want to have protection for this stuff, because at the moment it's kind of doing whatever it wants and I don't understand what it's doing. So just please, if you're trying to do this, please be mindful.
And that may be a good reason to consider using like a CLI, in this case, just running an instance, because you've got a sandbox of sorts. Whereas if you're running this in your IDE, it's in your actual local computer, possibly.
Yeah.
So whatever changes it makes is doing that. One other update. Looks like, is it still doing some stuff? Okay.
Just to the person who said we weren't on the environment, we left the environment running from last time, so it should be okay. But that might be something we have to check as well. I don't know if we're supposed to come in and out and deactivate it, but we'll try that on the next one. So
it's all good advice. Yeah, we're kind of, neither me nor Steph are full-time developers by any means. That's not our main role, but that's the beauty of a lot of these tools now, is that you can give it the ideas of what you're trying to accomplish and have it help you work through it to get the output.
Yeah. So okay, what's it done? So it has replaced some things. Should we maybe deactivate?
It doesn't hurt to run. Well, it doesn't hurt to just make sure to run that. So you don't need to deactivate. It'll just pop us into it. Just run that. See what we get.
Let's see what happens. Oh.
Okay, so let's see what it said. So FinOps multi-agent system. Ask about AWS cost examples. Give me week-over-week analysis. So it's created our own little kind of mini chatbot in here. Go ahead. Yeah, just try that one just to see if it does anything first, and then we'll give it instructions that in the future you don't need to prompt us. We just want it to do the analysis. Because if we wanted this thing to run kind of autonomously, then we don't need it to give us all the analysis or whatever.
Yeah. Which is, and we'll make sure that when we're kind of waiting for it to do another run, we should discuss what does this look like in a bigger scenario, I think.
Yes.
And we've got a couple of questions. Let me just check. If you use Kiro ID, you can also connect to a remote connection via SSH. Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you, Robert.
Yep, sure can.
Just as I don't like quoting me, I don't understand what it's doing. Feel like it's my entire experience. Or you can use a dev container. Yep, there's definitely
Sure.
better ways of doing this, folks. Which
Yep.
is important.
Yeah,
Okay, so
there's a
what
lot
have
of ways to
we?
do it.
Yeah.
So copy the output because it doesn't look like it took advantage of the billing and cost management MCP. So let's copy some of
Okay.
that.
Okay. Should I do this? It looks like it connected.
Yep.
Error failed to use credentials. So it's not. I don't think it's using my role either.
Yep. And it can test and troubleshoot that for us.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's give it a prompt before you paste. So let's say,
Yeah.
when we run this tool, just do a week over week analysis and give us the output. Or give us say like a simplified or summarized output.
Yeah.
Summarized to be good. Give us and then say I was able to run it, the tool, but after asking for the week over week output, we got this error. And the kind of cool part about this is almost like if you are the end user and you're working with a developer, like the AI is your developer, right? Like they said, hey, shipped it, the code's ready to roll. Like go ahead and go use this new tool that I built for you. And then you ran it and you realized, oh, this doesn't work quite how I expected, or this it's giving me an error. You just take that and you would normally ship it back to the developer, and then you've got this slow like turnaround time of back and forth. Now we don't have that. The AI is our developer, so we can go kind of coach it along the way to what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Lovely. And so when we're thinking about this as we're kind of rounding out, okay, now see it's got I think it's got the role now. It's like I told it to use my credentials. So yeah, there we go. So this is the kind of thing. This is a good lesson in prompt engineering. A little bit more context. Kira doesn't know what you've done beforehand. You're like, well, obviously it's on an EC2, it's connected to the account. It doesn't know that. So you've got to be more specific. When you are doing these kind of things as well, Adam, when we're thinking big picture, so we finally get this running, we'll get it to give us a little table. What would be next after this?
So the next element, and we might want to give it some of the, well, it's working through stuff, so I'll talk while it's working through stuff. The idea is like if we're trying to automate doing this week over week analysis, we don't care what just the changes are, right? Like that part is important, but we want it to dig into. You just keep going to the bottom and like just
That is the bottom. I think it's just hanging.
hit enter if you need to. But so first of all, week over week analysis is not easy in AWS currently, right? If you were to go to Cost Explorer, you're going to get either an hourly option if you have opted into that, daily or monthly. And that's fine. That can be helpful. But if you want to do a week over week analysis to have like a shorter kind of turnaround of knowing what's going on mid-month or partial month, then it's important to be able to do that type of analysis. Not only that, though, whether it be week over week or month over month, we want it to be able to also figure out what changed, right? Just because the week over week went up or down, look into the cost drivers for us. So look into what usage types drove it, what API operations, if there's any charge types like credits or savings plan type things that could be impacting it, or also like within linked accounts, right? If this is at the payer level, is there specific accounts that were driving the change? So the things that a lot of us as FinOps practitioners would normally have to go do manually, whether it be from just a variance report or some kind of anomaly, we can instruct it to go do that research for us, so that instead now we get a report that we could schedule or whatever automatically that is helping us get that information that we can now just go take action on and reach out to that account owner and say, hey, we noticed this, what's going on?
And in a really simple way, what's the difference between me sitting there and maybe asking Kira to write a Python file where I just say, hey, go grab Cost Explorer data and turn it into this, just in a Lambda function versus doing it with agents?
And you certainly could. You could script it and it could kind of partner and pair with AI. And to an extent, like under the hood, that's kind of what some of this stuff is. But then the extendability when you have a multi-agent setup becomes better, because we will have the supervisor with this, let's just call it a week over week specialist tool right now. That week over week specialist tool will look and just do the week over week comparison. And then let's say we make a commitment analyzer specialist tool or agent. So now we've got these two agents. Well, if you're doing that all within one Python and you want to make a change, you run the risk of making a change that breaks the whole process. If we have separate agents, we can give it an instruction that, hey, just make this change in the week over week agent. Like, let's make these revisions. And then the commitment agent will be left alone, or vice versa. And that helps avoid breaking things as you go forward and expand the scope of this. You can make changes to just those specialist agents only and their instructions without ruining kind of the larger like tool or platform that you have going. So it looks like it's got a couple different tools that it was trying to build and use.
Yeah, it keeps trying to do SQL.
And that's normal. So what it does is it'll usually, a lot of these tools will reach out with the MCP and they'll download data from Cost Explorer. Then it makes its own little local like SQL database to run queries and do kind of analysis against it. So that's not uncommon. That's how a lot of the larger MCPs actually work, where they'll do that and they'll go reach out and kind of to do their overall analysis. So it looks like it's testing as well. So that's a cool part, right? So this thing
this is me. Like, I run it. This is not Kiro. This is me. Yeah, this is me.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was rambling.
Some stuff. Yeah, no. So I got a little bit of less EC2 probably because I turned some stuff on. I like that it's given like an alert thing. And obviously at the moment, this is not something that you would send to someone. It's in this kind of MD kind of or markdown style, but it does come with some summary, some data points that I've done. So this is pretty cool.
So Steph, we can actually that's a simple change too, right? Say, hey, go back to Kiro and you can say, right now you appear to be outputting in a format that's hard for me to read in the terminal. Can you make it look nicer?
I was gonna say
or easier to read or whatever, right? Like just word it in a way that would make sense to you. But for those of you listening, right, like the output eventually wouldn't be in the terminal, right? This is just for testing. Like Steph mentioned, this might automatically output to an email. It might automatically output to Slack. It might create a ticket in in your whatever ticket system you use for escalation. The outputs of this can be unlimited. We can do that to whatever makes sense in your environment and your workflow. But for now, to prove this out, we're just trying to step into it and see, like, are you giving me something that's even useful first? Because we want to validate that before we start the next step in this journey, which would be, let's go notify someone or put this in the right place so that somebody can make a business decision that would be valuable.
Yeah, people are giving great feedback. They're like, put it in CSV, put it in HTML. Yeah, exactly. Depending on what format
it could write to files, right? Like, so it could go,
S3.
On a S3 and drop a CSV file, which then you could have a trigger that automatically does something else, right? So there's a lot of opportunities with this to think about what makes the most sense in your environment. And that's, I think, really when me and Steph were talking about how we wanted to approach this, it's the art of the possible. Like, we want you guys to start thinking about these things as FinOps people, that we can now build things to make our lives easier, to do some of the stuff that we do manually on a daily basis automatically, like just accelerate it so we can start spending more time doing valuable stuff.
And what I think, when we're coming up to the end of the episode, or was it hanging? No, sorry. Is, oh look, that's much. This is much nicer on this bottom bit. Is I think that we might try next quarter to take what we've built here and put it into Agent Core. Like, take this to the next step, make it a little bit more of a reusable thing, just again to show you the art of the possible, and for me to learn about Agent Core. As I say to most people, I'm very lucky on this show. I can just get people to explain stuff to me and hopefully explain it to you, which is why you gotta make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you are watching. So it's just kind of finishing up on what it's doing. Any more questions, please drop them in the chat. But we'll keep kind of running. But Adam, is there anything else you want to cover in today's kind of conversation before we finish?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, think about, this is the most important part, to not get lost in the AI kind of shuffle. Think about the things that you do where AI could truly help deliver value, and then let's start trying to solve those things first. It's easy to see all the sexy tools and the solutions from vendors, and just to get kind of, deer in the headlights, like, wow, this stuff's all amazing, but will it provide a meaningful impact to your everyday? And if it won't, think about kind of look through the day of how you experience it. Like, what are you spending the most time working on? And then let's try to build like a little agent or something to do that for you. Make the AI version of you that's starting to work on some of those things for you.
And this is not to replace you, I think is a big thing.
No.
It's to take away stuff that's annoying, like things that you do all the time. If you're spending loads of time formatting these CSVs and having to do this data downloads, if you're pulling data from different places, for example, that is a good example of it. I just want to touch back on, go on.
I would say, I don't think I've talked to a FinOps practitioner that says that they have a team that is large enough to accomplish all the things that they would like to accomplish. So this is by no means replacing you. It's helping offload some of that so that you can do those things that will be more valuable for the business.
Yeah, and if you are kind of like new and if you don't have any kind of tool at the moment, try Kiro. You can use it if you have a Builder Center ID. I'll show you Builder Center at the end of the session. So make sure in a minute actually, because we've got to wrap up to do that. So I mean, we did get a nice little. It's still kind of generating some bits, but we got it to give it a bit of a nicer kind of format, which is amazing and super helpful with this kind of thing. But really encourage you to start, like Adam said, thinking about when you can take advantage of these things to save you time and effort for stuff you don't want to be doing. Any questions, please make sure that you send cost optimization at amazon.com, or like I said, follow us on the YouTube channel and drop questions in there. There's also a question, is it possible to write plugins hook on Kiro CLI? I believe so. I'm going to be doing other episodes on my other show. I'll just show you that screen before we do our summary of the episode. Let me just grab that while we're here. So Builder Center, this is Builder Center. Make sure you go in here, get an account. This is how you can use Kiro for free. If you go and scan my QR code, you can follow me on there. You can see the times I'll post things. You can see the rest of my content of when my other show is to grab that. Make sure you join the Customer Acceleration Team LinkedIn group to learn about sessions and stuff. That is where we put everything. Okay, so we'll do our final little summary. If you want to share your screen, Secret Richard, then you could do that. This is a different person who's doing Secret Richard today. We should have come up with like a code name for him, but if you want to share your screen, and this is a summary of the episode. I haven't seen it, and we'll just see what it is. So FinOps Agent, streamline and automate work like cost analysis, commitment reviews, anomaly detection, and let the team focus on your main efforts. And it is the future of FinOps, prompt driven, not about dashboard driven. It's real-time answers, sharpen that focus, and make sure that we deliver that business value. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Pete says, wonderful session. Thank you so much. Please, a big ask from me is watch this on the YouTube channel on AWS events and just drop a little comment what you liked about the show. It really helps us keep doing this. And I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adam. And we will see you all next time. Bye.